Salams, this is People's Dispatch and you're watching the Daily Roundup, our selection of some of the top news stories from around the world. Here are today's headlines. Israeli forces have killed another Palestinian teenager, making it the 14th minor killed just this year. The G20 foreign ministers meeting fails to reach a consensus over Ukraine. The Mexican president has announced an alliance to fight inflation, and protests have erupted in Greece over a train crash. Israeli security forces on Thursday killed a 15-year-old Palestinian teenager and injured two others in the town of Azun in the province of Kalkila in the occupied West Bank. The Palestinian Ministry of Health said that the teenager, identified as Mohammed Nidal Salim, was shot in the back by Israeli forces. Among the two others injured, one was shot in the chest and is currently in critical condition at a hospital. According to reports, Israeli forces attacked the three teenagers while they were at the entrance to the town. This is according to eyewitness reports. With Salim's killing, Israeli forces have now killed 14 Palestinian children in 2023. This is out of a total of 68 Palestinians killed this year in an increasingly regular and violent series of Israeli raids and invasions across Palestinian towns, cities, and villages. In a related development, the Israeli government renewed the siege that it had imposed over the city of Jericho just hours after it had lifted the siege. Reports said that Israeli forces once again installed checkpoints at all entrances to the city in the evening. Palestinian security sources later said that the Israelis blocked at least 3 entrances to Jericho and conducted checks and searches on every vehicle as well as Palestinian civilian entering and exiting the city from those points. The residents of the area denounced the Israeli action and criticized authorities for inflicting collective punishment against all of their people. Meanwhile, Israeli forces continued carrying out violent, heavy-handed raids and invasions around the West Bank as well as East Jerusalem, killing dozens of Palestinians and wounding hundreds of others. The G20 foreign ministers meeting in New Delhi on Thursday failed to release a joint statement due to disagreements over the war in Ukraine, with both Russia and China objecting to the language of the draft. As per Indian Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar, both Russia and China had strong objections to 2 paragraphs of the draft statement borrowed from last year's Bali conference, which demanded unconditional withdrawal of all Russian troops from Ukrainian soil. Jaishankar, in his chair's summary and outcome document released as an alternative to the joint communique, claimed that all the participants, however, agreed to bring the African Union into the grouping on the lines of the European Union, which is already a full member. Jaishankar also noted that on most of the other issues related to the developing world, such as multilateralism, climate change, food and energy security, there was a broad consensus among those attending. The meeting was attended by Chinese Foreign Minister Qin Gang, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, and US Secretary of State Antony Blinken, along with the foreign ministers of the world's top 20 economies. Accusing the Western delegates of pushing the Ukrainian issue while ignoring the actual mandate of the G20, Lavrov said, and I quote, "The West has sacrificed to its ambitions in Ukrainian affairs all areas of work that should contribute to the core of the G20 activities." End quote. He apologized to India as the host and other developing countries for the West's behavior at the forum. I quote again, "That has turned the work on the G20 agenda into a farce in an attempt to shift the blame for their economic failures primarily to Russia." Blinken, on the other hand, asserted that Russia's war cannot go unchallenged and accused it of attacking the core principles of the UN Charter by waging the unjustified war against Ukraine and hampering the process of G20 meetings. Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador on Thursday announced the formation of an alliance consisting of Latin American and Caribbean nations to jointly fight the problem of high and constantly rising inflation. The announcement of the economic and commercial project at a time when the United Nations has noted that the consumer price index in Latin America and the Caribbean last year was increased to 15.4%. This rise was 3% higher than the rate of inflation the previous year. Reports have noted that the high rate of inflation has affected all kinds of essential items, basic goods, and other commodities. The worst affected among them have been the cost of energy, of course, and fertilizers, and of food and beverages. In his announcement, the president said that we're going to carry out an anti-inflation plan of mutual aid for growth, for economic commercial exchange with Latin American countries. Yesterday, with this purpose, I spoke with President Lula of Brazil, with President Gustavo Petro of Colombia, with President Miguel Diaz-Canel from Cuba, and with President Alberto Fernandez of Argentina. He further noted that he will, in the near future, speak to the leaders of Honduras, Chile, and Bolivia as well. He added that the countries concerned will see their foreign, finance, and commerce ministers and other officials start work towards improving trade, food imports, exports, and other commercial activities in the region. He also indicated plans for the countries to eliminate tariffs, taxes, and other difficulties that they are facing in the way of bilateral and regional trade. Significantly, the Mexican president left out the countries of Peru and El Salvador from the announcement due to the political crises that both those countries are currently going through. And finally, progressive groups across Greece, including workers and students and youth groups, have expressed outrage at the death of over 47 people in a collision between a passenger train and a freight carrier on the Athens-Thessaloniki main line in Tempe near Larissa on the night of the 28th of Feb. Close to 70 people were injured in the crash and many passengers are reportedly still missing. On the 1st of March as well as the 2nd, people organized demonstrations outside the Athens offices of the Hellenic Railways Organization, the OSE, and the private train operator, Hellenic Train SA. Protests were carried out in the cities of Thessaloniki and Patras as well. Demonstrators spoke out against the austerity-ridden, dysfunctional railway system, which has only worsened the negligence. They also demanded a thorough investigation into the tragedy, terming it a predetermined crime with causes and culprits. On the 1st of March, various groups, including the Communist Party of Greece, the All Workers Militant Front, and other youth and student groups organized vigils in Greek cities to pay their respect to those who had died in the tragedy and called on the people to join blood donation drives in hospitals from the 1st to the 3rd for those who have been injured. According to reports, as part of the preliminary investigation, the Larissa station manager has been arrested for criminal negligence on duty. The two trains were reportedly speeding in opposite directions on the same track due to malfunctions in the track-changing system. After the accident, highlighting the criminal negligence of rail authorities, the Communist Party of Greece re-released a note of warning issued by the Democratic Unionist Trade Union Movement of Railways on the 7th of Feb regarding staff shortages, security and resources at critical railway services and infrastructure that may lead to fatal accidents. In its statement on the 2nd of March, the party said that there have long been signs that a very dangerous situation has developed in rail transport, both for passengers and for workers. And there were numerous warnings from workers that it was only a matter of time before a more serious accident occurred, which was apparently ignored by the government as well as the company. That's all we have on this episode of the Daily Roundup. For more stories like these, head to our website, peoplesdispatch.org, and don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.